In a seemingly peaceful city, a giant monster suddenly appeared and began to destroy everything. But it was just a nightmare of our main character, Noi, a second-year high school student. He lived with his father, but he was always busy with work and often not at home, so it was like he was living alone. At school, his friend Haki boasted to Noi about a completely new game called Blade and Saber. Because his uncle was a programmer for the game company, Haki got a beta version, making Noi very jealous. While they were having fun, someone unexpectedly took the game console. It was Kayasu. She came to remind everyone that it was almost time for class, so everyone hurried inside. On the way to class, Noi couldn't stop being excited about the game and accidentally bumped into a girl who seemed to be a rich lady because she had 2 bodyguards with her. Before he could apologize, there was a level 5 disaster alert. A monster was about to appear. It was announced that all people should immediately find shelter as soon as possible. Then lightning struck the heart of the city. Noi immediately ran to the roof to observe. Kayasu reminded him to go to the shelter quickly. He said it was okay because the monster's trajectory was not towards the school. As soon as he finished speaking, the monster fired a missile straight at Noi. Luckily, the protective shield at the school was still working very well. The Saber team had also arrived to eliminate the monster. As soon as the order was given, everyone simultaneously attacked and easily defeated the monster. They were also Noi's dream. He wanted to become Blade or Saber in the future to fight monsters, partly because they were his mother's enemies, and also because Noi wanted to protect everyone. When all 3 entered the classroom, they were glared at by the homeroom teacher because they didn't run to class when they saw the alarm. And the girl who looked like a rich lady was also there. Her name was Modis, and she was assigned to sit next to Noi. While he was staring at her, the homeroom teacher came. For daring to disregard the rules and being late, Noi received a combo punishment of having to finish his homework before going home from the next day, and the class president would closely monitor Noi. In the afternoon, while Noi and Kayasu were returning home, she saw a mother cat and her kittens, so she rushed to take a few pictures. When she turned around, Noi was nowhere to be found. It turned out that he saw Modis alone, so he came to talk to her, but because he didn't know if the upper class wanted to talk to the commoners, he asked permission to leave. Unexpectedly, Modis held him back and asked if he wanted to date her. Just then, Kayasu found them and ran away, leaving her phone behind. After the confession, Modis also left. Noi didn't know what had just happened, so he decided to find Kayasu first. Noi met her at the school's swimming pool. He complimented her, saying that even royalty is cute. Just as Kayasu was about to confess to Noi, a monster emerged from the pool. It lunged at both of them. Noi immediately pulled Kayasu to run away. Somehow, the monster had infiltrated the school without triggering the alarm. It attacked relentlessly. The 2 hid in the locker room. Of course, it wouldn't let them go easily. The monster kept banging on the door. Realizing that this wouldn't hold it back, Noi decided to stay and fight so Kayasu could run for help. It was the only way. Noi grabbed a nearby axe and ran out to fight, allowing Kayasu to escape easily. As soon as she got down, she immediately sought help. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Noi was also fighting back fiercely. He had just cut off one of its tentacles when the monster suddenly punched him against the wall. Thinking that today was his last day, a blade warrior suddenly appeared to fight it. She only needed 1 sword strike to finish off the monster. She then handed Noi an item to heal himself, but he refused because he wasn't badly injured. Suddenly, the monster was still alive after being cut in half. It lunged in to continue its attack, knocking off the mask of the warrior. Even more surprising was that it was Modis. Caught off guard, she was stabbed in the stomach. As she was about to be devoured, Noi jumped in and finished it off. Now Modis was the one who needed healing. Noi was surprised to learn that his classmate was a blade, but Modis made him promise to forget everything that happened today. Noi said he could forget, but he wasn't sure about the confession, making Modis want to punish him. At that moment, help arrived. It was Modis' bodyguard, Kaken. Modi's knocked Noi unconscious and let Kaken handle the rest. Kayasu also arrived. Then, he took Noi home. In a dream, while Noi was having fun with his mother, a monster suddenly rushed in, causing him to wake up with a start. Kayasu was there taking care of him. Noi didn't remember anything after the police arrived. Kayasu said that she asked the police to take him home and she was just taking care of him. Then she mentioned the confession. Noi just said that there must be some misunderstanding because he couldn't understand what the upper class was thinking. After that, Noi took Kayasu home. Because there had been many accidents lately. And somewhere else, someone was being chased and finished off by a person holding a scythe. The next day, the body was found, and the person in charge of the case was Modi's bodyguard. Noi was on his way to school when he saw it. Then the two had a little chat. Kaken warned Noi not to bother the young lady. As for the case this time, it was terrifying when he told it. But there were some things that weren't right. The body had been there since morning. Maybe the monster had done something. Noi immediately realized. So it wasn't alone yesterday. While he was thinking, the class president appeared to ask for his homework. Noi said that he had an accident yesterday, which was encountering a monster at school and defeating it. Of course, she didn't believe it and dragged Noi to see the teacher. Fortunately, Modi's appeared and gave the class president the homework she had done for him in exchange for Noi keeping quiet about what happened yesterday. After that, the two became friends, and Modi's took Noi out to play. Haki saw it all and told Kayasu. On the bus, Noi asked Modi's what her life was like when she was a child. When she was little, she was not allowed to go out and was always forced to study, so going to school here was her first time. That's why she didn't have any friends. Then, the two of them started to play. They experienced a lot of things. After playing for a while, Modi's took Noi to a lingerie store. Needless to say, Noi couldn't avoid being gossiped about. While Modi's was trying on clothes, there was a level 5 alarm. Modi's immediately transformed, and Noi went to evacuate everyone to safety. Reaching an alley while he was checking, the monster jumped out and attacked. Suddenly, it was cut into 8 pieces. One would think it was a blade warrior, but she told him that he would be her prey. At this time, she was shot by another warrior. Noi didn't understand what was going on, so he decided to run away with this blonde girl first. The other warrior also chased after them and warned Noi that it was a demon, not a human. The blonde girl also recovered and rushed to attack. Noi wondered why Blade and Saber were attacking each other. The blue-haired girl said that she had killed her teammate, so she had to make her pay. The blonde girl also changed her hunting target. Noi vaguely realized that the Blade's power was behind the recent cases. Then the two clashed. Knowing that her opponent couldn't attack at close range, the Blade continuously pressed the Saber. The Blade launched a finishing blow, but the Saber used her eye to fire back an attack. The two attacks collided, creating an explosion, and the result leaned towards the Blade, in my opinion, but the Saber had time to fire a shot into the Blade's stomach, so now the upper hand belonged to the Saber. As she was about to finish her off, Noi stopped her. He said that Blade and Saber should work together to fight monsters, protect people and the world. Why kill each other? She was angry, saying that an NPC didn't know anything, surprising him. At this time, the Blade also said, "That's a non-player character, not a player, an automatically programmed character." Taking advantage of Saber's distraction, she escaped and restrained Noi. As she was about to kill him, she also revealed a secret to him. Everything here was just a virtual world. It was an online game. Although Noi found it hard to believe, she showed him his accident again, and after being destroyed by the monster, but in the blink of an eye, the city was quickly restored. So Noi thought it was normal because his brain was programmed that way. Everyday life, as well as the memories of NPCs, were pre-programmed. Everything in this world was controlled by a supercomputer. Even time in this world was also managed by the real world, Blade or Saber. Players just need to choose the character they like. Then they will have the task of protecting, fighting against evil, protecting peace in the game. It was all a lie. But because of one person, she hated this world and massacred NPCs. Not stopping there, she also killed other players. Noi began to realize that everything was fake. All the memories he had with everyone were meaningless. At this time, Kayasu came running from somewhere to protect Noi. Of course, an NPC couldn't match a player, and then she started torturing Kayasu in front of a helpless Noi. Suddenly, his body burst into flames. Noi broke free and gave her a punch in the face. Although she didn't understand what was going on, she realized something was wrong with Noi. At this time, Noi grabbed the scythe and threw it straight at her, but she dodged it. Thought it was easy to eat, but it was tough. The scythe suddenly turned around and stabbed her straight in the stomach. She disappeared into streams of light that flew into Noi. Then, the blade outfit appeared on Noi. Information about other people also appeared in his eyes. Indeed, her words were true. Then he healed Kayasu, and this saber girl was Hako. She reminded Noi to keep this a secret, not to be told to anyone else. Hako also received the order and logged out first. From afar, two mysterious people were watching Noi. After that, Noi took Kayasu home to treat her wounds. Modis also followed, although very angry because she was only considered as a piece of data, but Noi had no other choice. Modi said that what she told him about friends was true. At home, Noi finally let Modis in. He asked her how to take this suit off. Modis pointed to the device on Noi's left hand. It allowed players to connect or disconnect from the game. From the moment he defeated her, Noi's data might have been changed. Noi might have become a player. Then, Modis showed Noi the data panel. Finally, he was able to take it off. Since Modis got to admire the NPC's body, Noi felt that Modis was not a bad person after all. Noi was her first friend. If he died, she would be very sad. In the real world, 12 years ago, she had an accident. After that, she couldn't live a normal life, and then Vincent introduced her to this game. In the game, she could feel and move freely. Players killed monsters to complete missions, but protecting NPCs was also an equally important task. Besides, if a player killed another player, that person would receive a PK penalty. Confessing to Noi was also a mission in the game. Modis checked the status board. The previous mission was not completed yet. Back on the rooftop, the one who destroyed the monster was Noi, not Modis. Maybe that was the reason. Anyway, Noi also had something to ask Modis. It was to change Kayasu's clothes. After all, they were friends, so she would help him. After changing clothes for Kayasu, Modis observed Noi's room. It seemed he was a big fan of blade and saber. Then, she noticed a commemorative photo of Noi and his mother. Suddenly, a series of Noi's memories rushed through her mind. Before she could understand what was happening, there was a noise outside. A group of people in black appeared and subdued Noi. They believed he was the one who corrupted the data, as his data had created a large number of errors. His existence was a threat to Gaia. They began to restore the data, but one of them noticed that Noi had a watch on his hand, indicating he was a player, so they immediately stopped. They apologized and introduced themselves as Nightwolf, responsible for monitoring the system and eliminating any errors they detected. They then asked about the relationship between Noi and Modis. Before they could answer, Vincent called from outside, telling the young lady to log out because the master was about to return. If he saw this scene, it would be very dangerous. With no other option, she had to leave. After that, Nightwolf checked Noi's information, and suddenly, an attack occurred. A group of mysterious people appeared and kidnapped Noi. When Noi woke up, he met a monk. A masked girl also appeared and introduced themselves as crows. The monk was a Zen master, and this place was his independent domain, unknown to anyone else. It could be seen but was invisible in form. There was no need to panic, as the master was an ally of Noi. Back at Noi's house, the remaining member of the Crows was dealing with the Night Wolf group. After finishing off the second member, only one remained, but he was different from the others. No matter what the Crow did, it was useless, and then he finished him off. Kayasu had witnessed everything as she had been awakened by the loud noise. Instead of killing her, the Night Wolf member implanted a parasite into her. The monk said he was also once an NPC like Noi. His system role was to demonstrate players' skills, meaning he was a guide. Noi asked if this world was illusory, like a game, what was the meaning of everyone's existence? Even if this world was illusory, and they had life, the fact was they were here, meaning this was their reality. Their existence was assured, even if they were just NPCs. They still had thoughts and freedom, even if they were just programs, but life had meaning. In reality, many NPCs were created with that purpose. Their existence was necessary in this world. This meant Noi was the key to changing everything. With the final hope skier, the master wanted Noi as an ally for the benefit of the world. Everything had happened so suddenly, so Noi still needed time to think. The monk then gave Noi a gear, and after receiving it, he felt energy surging through his body. The monk then sent him back, telling him to return when he had made his decision, and reminded him to be cautious of Night Wolf. Meanwhile, Modis had a dinner with her uncle. She also mentioned her memories. Although she had recalled a little, she still wanted to know more about the boy and his mother, and it might be related to his father. Then Modis mentioned the name Gurito, which made her uncle angry and leave early. Returning to Noi's house, everything had been repaired. Kayasu also woke up and started crying. Noi said it was just a dream, but regardless, Noi still had to protect Kayasu and his loved ones. The Night Wolf group was closely monitoring Noi. Outside, Vincent told Modis that Mr. Garrido was one of the developers of Gaia and had disappeared unexpectedly, like a fatal blow. After his disappearance, that was all he knew. Modis could only remember one thing from 12 years ago. When she thought about it, she felt sad and lonely. She then asked Vincent to help her because she wanted to know what had happened at that time. This game still had many mysteries. Modis wanted to understand it better. Noi was the key to the answers from 12 years ago and to the whole game world. A regular school day resumed, but this time Noi felt very familiar because he had become aware of the real and the virtual. On the way to school, Haki bragged to him about his in-game achievements that he stayed up all night to earn, but Noi didn't care. Then the two met Modis, so Haki went ahead to let them talk. Modis asked Noi what happened after she logged out, but even Noi wasn't sure what had happened. At that moment, an emergency alert sounded. They both rushed to the place where a monster had appeared. Their levels were not high enough to defeat it. It immediately attacked them. Kaken arrived in time and took out an axe to strike the monster, but it was a fire-type monster, which countered Kaken. It burned him, but fortunately, Vincent arrived in time. Kayasu also went looking for Noi when she didn't see him at school. The monster charged towards the school, intending to break through the barrier. Modis transformed and joined the fight. Watching the three of them fight, Noi couldn't stand still. He transformed to assist. The monster began to charge its attack. Vincent told them to retreat because it only aimed at the school, not them. But Noi refused. To the players, they were just NPCs, but to Noi, they were very important. This world was everything to Noi. Even if he failed, he would continue to fight. Noi continued to charge forward, with Modis following to support. Noi tried to summon a weapon but failed. The monster struck, rendering him unconscious. Just as it was about to crush him, Kaken arrived but could only resist a little. Then a bullet hit the monster's eye, fired by Hako from Saber. The captain also appeared, saying they could only help this much. The explosive witch was a very tough monster. Noi was the first to attack, so even if they killed it, they wouldn't get any experience or items. Furthermore, to defeat it required a high level and many other things. If the main damage wasn't enough, it would only make it angrier, doubling its attack power. After that, the two left. The monster continued to attack. When Noi was in danger, Kayasu unleashed her power. Night Wolf, who was watching, also sensed it. They were very surprised as there was no data about Kayasu possessing such energy. The monster continued to aim at the school. Vincent could only defend. Kayasu unleashed all her power to wake Noi up. Finally, he regained consciousness, and Kayasu fainted afterward. Noi began to unleash his power. The master sensed the time had come. Noi had managed to summon his weapon. The master was also casting spells. The night wolf had found the master's location. He maximized all his skills for Noi, putting everything in his hands, then fainted. Noi continuously spammed attacks, eventually absorbing the monster. The ordeal ended, but Noi lost control and attacked Modi's. Fortunately, the Crow members arrived and restrained him. Her identity as the class president was also revealed. She hurriedly left. At the master's place, the night wolf had found him. They confronted each other, and he forced the master to reveal his true form. The master had exhausted all his power to help Noi. He then forced the master to reveal the crow's location. Meanwhile, Kaken was taking Noi to a press conference. Tenma Corporation had created Gaia and Chu Yuu's Sekai 12 years ago. Today, they were holding a press conference. It was also Modi's home, and her grandfather had planned everything to continue the project. Gaia was an AI created to handle the game's database, also known as a supercomputer. It contained everything that existed in Chu Yuu's Sekai. As soon as they met, Kaken and Vincent started fighting. The main reason for bringing Noi here was that there were a few things that needed confirmation. In return, Vincent would tell Noi everything necessary. Back at the Grandmaster's place, he couldn't understand the truth that the Night Wolf group believed in. If he joined their side, they would surely achieve true freedom. The Night Wolf member was tired of the Grandmaster's words. Gaia had given this world life. Without Gaia's backup, they wouldn't be alive today. However, they faced obstacles when the Grandmaster rebelled against Gaia. Destroying Gaia meant destroying this world, which was more than enough reason to eliminate him, and Noi was no exception. Back to Noi, Vincent had reviewed his personal information. Noi's mother died in an accident 6 years ago when a monster attacked the city. Afterward, Noi lived with his father, but his father was very busy, so he often stayed alone. Noi angrily threw all the papers away, saying that NPCs also deserved privacy. He felt like the people here only saw him as part of the data. Modi's explained that investigating him was only to find answers because she thought he and everything happening might be connected. Noi was the only clue to uncovering the truth about this world, so she needed his help. Not because he was an NPC or a player, but because they were friends, which made Kaken laugh out loud. Luckily, Vincent quickly covered his mouth. In short, they didn't come here to play games, and he showed Noi a picture of himself. His father took that picture, but Noi couldn't remember his name and then fainted. Back with the Grandmaster, he was being completely overwhelmed. Just one more hit and he fainted. After a while, Noi woke up. Vincent explained that someone had tampered with his data. Modi's mentioned the name Garrido, causing Noi's head to ache intensely. He was one of the developers of Gaia and the chief engineer of the project. All of Noi's data had been altered, from skills to weapons, so now Noi was like a game hacker. The system would eliminate him if it found out. Noi then told everyone about the Grandmaster. Vincent understood the situation. The Chu Yuyu Sekai press conference was about to start, so everyone prepared to log out and say goodbye to Noi. Modi's warned him that people in the real world would see his existence as a threat, so he should be careful. Back home, the class president was already there. She was there to protect him, and her name was Chino. Noi asked what was going on. Chino informed him that the Grandmaster had been captured by a subordinate of Night Wolf named Virus. He was probably hunting down other crows, and Noi was his next target. The school used to be a safe zone, but now the barriers were down. The system was malfunctioning and probably wouldn't be fixed. The ones who could do that were the system managers, Night Wolf. Virus was experimenting with Noi and his skills. Since Noi had caught his eye, he would definitely come for him again. Noi just wanted to be a blade warrior to protect everyone and didn't understand why people kept calling him the last hope. Chino didn't know either, but she believed the Grandmaster had bet his life to give Noi all his power, so there had to be a deeper meaning. Noi's mission now was not to let the Grandmaster's efforts go to waste. Noi knew what he had to do. He needed to believe in himself more to protect those he loved. The next morning, Noi rushed to school, though he was late, but Kayasu was still waiting for him. As soon as she saw Noi, she jumped into his arms. When she woke up, she didn't see him anywhere, but she was very happy that he was okay. At that moment, Virus appeared unexpectedly. He wanted to know how Noi could become a player. He had sent the Grandmaster to meet a guest, then suddenly knocked Noi out with a lightning bolt. As he was about to take him away, Kayasu unleashed her power once again, causing everything around her to crumble. Seeing the situation spiraling out of control, Virus intervened, restoring everything to normal before retreating. Kayasu then escorted Noi back to class. Upon entering, they were greeted by a surprise party, as everyone thanked Noi for saving them. Immediately, Kayasu was left out. Noi noticed Haki still sitting in his usual spot. Everyone was giving gifts to Noi. Some even included love letters. After the party, Noi went back to his desk to check his box, but there were no letters. He turned to ask Haki, but he didn't respond, probably due to Noi ignoring him yesterday. Noi quickly apologized. Both of them were then given 2 chalk pieces by the teacher as punishment. As for the love letters, Kayasu had collected them all and burned them. She also insisted that Noi belonged to her. Back at their usual spot, both friends were sulking. Haki wasn't upset about Noi ignoring him, but rather that Noi had been hiding his true identity from him. In front of a warrior, Haki felt like a mere gamer who stayed up late watching anime. Now, their relationship was no longer what it used to be. They were truly living in different worlds. Noi told Haki that the truth could be hurtful. If Haki still considered him a friend, Noi would tell him everything. Hearing this, Haki immediately bombarded him with questions. Noi then took Haki to see Vincent, but it seemed like their press conference wasn't over yet. As they stepped out, a dog rushed towards Noi and started licking him. The dog's owner, a beautiful blonde woman, apologized and invited him to her newly opened cafe. They were offering special services for those who came in at that time. Haki, upon hearing this, immediately jumped ahead of Noi. It was the only way to kill time while waiting for Vincent. Noi then revealed everything to Haki. Instead of reacting dramatically, Haki remained calm. He realized that no matter where he was still himself. Even if he was just an NPC in a virtual world, created by someone, it didn't matter who created them. Whether it was Noi or Haki, everyone here was just digital data, but they were still living their lives. The coffee was brought to them. As they were drinking, the blonde woman kept staring at Noi. He remembered Modi's words that he was being seen as a threat, so he had to be careful with everything he did. He calmly observed his surroundings. Haki, on the other hand, was sure the blonde woman liked Noi. If he was a gamer, he would have received a notification, but since he was a character in the game world, he wouldn't. Notifications would not appear for characters from the real world, like Modi's. Haki was like a game character, so it was impossible to say whether someone existed or not. If he disappeared, Haki wouldn't even notice. The cafe owner then came over to ask how the coffee was. He was very happy that they both enjoyed it. He then offered them a job at the cafe so they could get free coffee. He had just moved here, so he wasn't aware that the cafe would be so busy. Noi wasn't sure what their intentions were, so he agreed for now. At that moment, Kayasu found Noi. As soon as she saw her, the blonde woman jumped on her, because she found her too cute. Seeing this, Haki also wanted to join in. It took a while for them to pull the woman away. The urgent announcement sounded again. The monster appeared right in front of the coffee shop, level 13. It had no eyes, but its ears were very sharp. It could hear the two talking and knew they were players. Then the two transformed, Saber actually 3 if you count the dog. The 3 separated to act. The monster started shooting randomly. The owner threw a stun grenade to disrupt its hearing. This blonde-haired girl is Ram. Ram and the dog charged into the attack. The monster saw that it couldn't win and it slipped away. Not wanting it to escape, Noi left Kayasu with Haki then transformed. He took out a sword and charged directly at it. But it had already managed to slip into the earth. All four chased after it. Going underground there were many monster eggs. It had lured them into its nest. The eggs started hatching. Both quickly left, while Ram was still stuck below because she went ahead on her own. The little monsters started to rise up and attack the coffee shop. Luckily Noi arrived in time. The monsters saw that they couldn't eat this guy with a knife, so they moved on to another shop to attack. It was the Vincent conglomerate. Now Noi had to make a choice, leave or stay to protect his friends. On the other side, the monsters had broken through the door and charged in. Haki, seeing the situation was not good, he pulled Kayasu to the second floor so Noi could rest assured to go save the girl. Though very scared, but shouldn't hinder Noi. Now the coffee shop owner finally introduced himself as Hakiranda. Then Haku threw a bomb at Noi's feet to propel him forward to Vincent's secretary. Luckily he arrived just before the monster asked for a little meat on her secretary. Haki and Kayasu both went upstairs and held their ground on the second floor. The monster rose up to attack Haku. Noi was also injured after the shock. The monsters had crawled up to the second floor. Ram came to help. The monster was searching for people by sound. Just be quiet and you'll be safe. But how would there be an anime to watch if that happened? The secretary didn't pass out. She woke up and screamed loudly, making Noi's situation difficult. At this time Kayasu knew what she had to do. She pushed Ram out, then used the stun grenade she had gotten and threw it at the monster, causing it to lose its position near Noi. Immediately it shot straight at Kayasu and Haki, causing both to die. At this time reinforcements arrived. Noi was angry. He burst out with his strength. Noi created a huge flame that burned the monster and its offspring alive. He was still very regretful for not being able to save his friends. But Kayasu and Haki were safe because Chino had saved them in time. Haku realized that Noi was not just a simple delivery boy. Noi was very happy that everyone was fine. Haki asked the secretary first, then asked his friend. While over at Modi's, the press conference was underway. Because the game was still in beta, the number of players exceeded expectations in just 1 week. At this time someone asked about the stability of the game. They heard that there were incidents that occurred during development 12 years ago. She got straight to the point. Did it really happen? Inside the game, Brother Haku was very frustrated because he had to rebuild the coffee shop. But when he thought of the rich flavor and brought wonderful experiences to customers, he didn't mind rebuilding it, because owning a coffee shop was his long-held dream. While in real life Ram said Haku was allergic to coffee because he couldn't absorb caffeine. It sounded very ironic. To have a coffee shop in real life for Haku was just a dream. But when in the game he could achieve that dream, Noi realized that people need this world too. Anyway, Haku still wanted to invite Noi to work at his place, but Noi declined because his version of this world was not a waiter or a student. Then the three left. Noi knew they all had good intentions, but he needed to keep his distance. Haku had been observing from the start. Ram, it goes without saying, she jumps at anything cute. Haku asked Haku about Noi. He just said he was special and needed to be observed more. But don't interfere too much, otherwise the system would find out and Noi would be erased. While the three were talking, Haku's shop was as black as his coffee beans. Back to the press conference, Modi's father thought it was ridiculous to let players enjoy this game. They had developed it for a long time. She continued to ask, wasn't it because of the incident that the company took so long to develop? It was pointless to argue because all that time the company had always been focused on developing to bring the best experience to players. Seeing that she couldn't get anything from him, the reporter turned her attention to Modi's, but he cleverly handled the situation. Information about whether the young lady participated in the beta test, he would announce later. The reason is because Modi's would be the advertising representative for the game, and would also be his successor. Rumors about Modi's being sick since childhood were true, so she didn't know anything about this world. And thanks to the game she was like regaining her freedom. That was his purpose when he wanted them to overcome their shortcomings and be free in this game. Everyone was the same. They didn't worry about their status, so that they could enjoy the game to the fullest. The reporter said that the illness was not from childhood, but was definitely due to the incident 1 year ago. During the beta test, of course, there were bound to be incidents, and they had tried to fix it. There was never any loss of life or illness in the game. He declared that anyone who had a different opinion, that person was the company's opponent. At Noi's house, Chino was injured after saving Kayasu. Noi also gave her healing items, then he asked Chino to help him get stronger, because he didn't want anything bad to happen. He needed to be stronger. Chino realized that what Noi lacked was self-defense and attack skills, so she could only teach him that. Then the training session began immediately. While over at Modi's, he scolded both Vincent and Kaken. Did they anticipate the consequences of letting the young lady participate in the game? If she had anything happen to her, both of you would eat enough. Vincent took full responsibility. He was the one who invited the young lady to participate in the game, because he knew it was very important to her, and was immediately fired. But Modi's defended him, because she was very lonely without friends. She also knew her body was very limited, and that made him very worried. At this point, the man walked up to Modi's and told her to promise him that if she felt unwell, she would log out immediately. Both of them would not be fired either. He also told her to be careful with that reporter. Meanwhile, Noi was practicing with Chino. Just by looking, you could tell he was getting beat up a lot. After a while, they both took a break so Chino could cook for him. Kayasu also brought food over for Noi. Needless to say, she was very excited about these two young people. After a while of explaining, she understood. Kayasu decided to stay there to protect Noi and chase Chino away. The two started arguing. When they saw Noi was hungry, they both started fighting over cooking for him. There was nothing Noi could do, so he went to take a bath while they did whatever they wanted. In the kitchen, the two of them kept fighting, causing the fish stew pot to catch fire. Hearing Kayasu scream, Noi rushed out to check. He accidentally showed his goods to the girls. Chino gave him a good beating. Right then, Modi's came to visit. Kaken immediately used a gun to destroy Noi's population enhancer. A while later, Kaken said the reason they came was to invite him on a vacation so Modi's could distress from the outside world. This trip was to the beach, which made Kaken extremely excited. Meanwhile, outside, Vincent asked the nurse attending Modi's to let him go on a business trip. However, they didn't know that she was actually Blade. Finally, the whole group arrived at the beach. Haki was busy playing games and Vincent couldn't be reached, so neither of them were there. This was also the first time Modi's had seen the ocean in 10 years. Everyone started unpacking their things. Unexpectedly, they found Haki hiding in the trunk of the car because he didn't want to be left behind. From afar, Haku was also watching the group. Instead of looking at them, he was looking at the girls. Of course he got beaten up by Ram. Hako was also there. After changing, everyone headed out to the beach. The girls had also changed, but the two men only had eyes for Modi's, making Kayasu and Chino glare. Everyone was having fun together, except for Modi's, who was just sitting and watching. Noi asked why she wasn't joining in. Modi's said that if she got too close to the characters in the game, it would affect their personalities. She was content with just being friends with Noi. Noi thought that regardless of who they were, everyone could integrate with others, even if they were from another world. If she made more friends, she could imagine a new world. She could be proud of her own world. If she expanded the concept of the world, she would have many more choices for the future, endless possibilities. It happened in Chuyu Isekai. It showed Modi's a new possibility of the world. Seeing this, Modi's joined everyone else. While they were playing, Noi saw a white-haired girl he knew, but only he could see her. While they were playing on the water scooter, memories of that girl flickered in his mind. On the beach, Chino got a call from a crow. When she answered, there was no one there. It turned out that Virus had found his hiding place and killed everyone. He also found out Chino's identity. Suddenly, a disaster warning appeared on the beach. A monster had appeared and was heading towards the ship. Noi and Modi's transformed and chased after it. The two of them managed to get onto the ship and prepared to fight the monster. It started firing missiles at them. they managed to block all of them. Kaken was rushing there and Kayasu followed. Noi used his rope to tie up the monster, but it didn't work. It continued to fire missiles. Kaken and Kayasu arrived to help. On the beach, Hako transformed to help from afar. Noi and Kaken charged at the monster, but its skin was too thick. Noi gathered his strength and spammed fireballs at the monster, causing it to scream in pain and dive into the water. However, it wasn't over yet. From under the water, a whole bunch of missiles were launched. Even though they tried their best to protect the ship, Noi and Modis were knocked off the ship. Underwater, he managed to save Modis, but he was also exhausted and sank. Kayasu immediately jumped in to save Noi. In his subconscious, Noi met the girl from before. She introduced herself as Gaia, the one who controlled Chuyuu's Sekai. She had tried to contact him many times, but she failed. Then Gaia showed Noi his mother in the real world. There wasn't much time left. Noi had to save her. Underwater, Kayasu once again used her powers to transform and defeat the monster. The two of them returned safely to the surface. In the real world, there was a scientist lying next to Noi's mother. The blonde-haired woman was also there. Her name was Mons. Noi's mother was Hira. We learned that they were a family. Inside the game, Noi told Vincent everything about his mother being in the real world. While the group was discussing, Modis suddenly screamed in pain and fainted. It turned out that Mons had implanted a chip in Modis from outside and activated something. Outside, Modis was rushed to the hospital. The chairman arrived after hearing the news. The doctor said her condition was very dangerous because when he touched her helmet, it immediately caused her pain. She was experiencing the same feeling in the game world. Vincent checked and saw Modis had logged out, so he logged out to check on her. Outside, the chairman was very distressed, fearing he would lose his granddaughter. Vincent arrived and informed him of Modis' condition in the game. The doctor then came out and said they found a strange device attached to the controller. It couldn't be removed immediately because the person who created it was very meticulous, and doing it incorrectly would be life-threatening. If they turned off the power and restarted the game, the data would be deleted and restored from scratch, meaning Modis might be trapped in the game forever. There would be no way to bring her back. The chairman was determined to save his granddaughter and left to go somewhere. Inside the game, no matter what Noi said, Modis still wouldn't wake up. Virus had captured and controlled the Grandmaster. He had no intention of restoring the Grandmaster's data. Instead, he was going to seize all his energy. He began to carry out his plan. With the last of his strength, the Grandmaster launched a palm strike at the monster, but it was completely useless. Virus had surpassed his limits and finished him off. After syncing data with the Grandmaster, Virus learned that the NPC's purpose was to gain freedom, and then he began searching for Noi. Outside, news of Modis' accident spread widely. The press were constantly prying. The chairman went to see a man named Garrido, who also knew about Modis' condition and was searching for a solution. However, the chairman was afraid that she would become like Hira. If this situation continued, he would be forced to reset Gaia. Naturally, Garrido objected, saying that Hira would never be able to return, and Chuyuu Sekai was something very important that they had created with their own strength. He would protect Hira at all costs. Mons arrived, stating that if the chairman didn't escape Gaia, he wouldn't be able to save his granddaughter. She also admitted that she was behind the entire incident. Garrido was furious and slapped her, as his beloved daughter had just destroyed all his work over the past 12 years. However, Mons also spoke of her own hardships, explaining that because of this project, Garrido hadn't been home in 12 years. Inside the game, Gaia appeared again and pleaded with Noi to save Hira, as there wasn't much time. She then took Noi into Modis' memories. They met their family again, including themselves as children, and Gaia appeared once more. These were memories Noi couldn't remember. She reminded him not to look away from this tragedy and to return to save Hira. Before he could understand what was happening, he was shown more of Modis' memories. Gaia was also there, observing everyone having fun, making her feel very lonely. Hira saw her, but she ran away. When she looked back and saw Modi's happy, Gaia burst into tears. Her cries disrupted the system. Garrido immediately logged out to check. Everything was about to collapse. Hira embraced the little girl, calming her down. When young Noi ran to Hira, Gaia's powers surged. Garrido outside ordered everyone to log out immediately, but only his wife and Modi's managed to log out in time. Their father stayed to save Noi and his wife, but it was too late. The two of them suddenly woke up, and before they could rejoice, Virus arrived to deal with Noi. Outside, after the disaster, Gaia miraculously continued to function. Garrido had to continue developing Gaia so his wife and children could live. Mons said that he was ridiculous for thinking that he had taken care of his family for the past 12 years, because it was all pointless as no one would be able to return. Mons did all of this because she didn't want to see her father suffer anymore, and she wished he wouldn't torment himself. The chairman received a call from the hospital informing him that Modi's had woken up. Inside the game, Noi was preparing to fight Virus. The villain wanted to see how this last hope would fight. The two of them started exchanging blows, and it turned out Noi was truly weak, only needing one blow to be subdued. Modi's and Kaken jumped in to rescue him, but Virus locked them both up. He started to break Noi, but Kayasu rushed in to protect him. Virus realized she was a monster and attacked, but it was too late. Kayasu transformed. He recognized that Kayasu was not created like a normal NPC, but for the sole purpose of protecting Noi. After transferring her final power to Noi, she disappeared. Regaining his composure, the two continued their exchange of blows. Virus used his bare hands to fight on par with Noi, even breaking his sword. Seeing that he was outmatched in swordplay, Noi started using magic. He unleashed an attack that created an explosion, contaminating everything around. Noi was taken to meet Gaia. She asked him to save Hira. Outside, there was an alert as well. Data overflow was changing the system, and Hira's life was in danger. Naturally, Garrido wouldn't give up on his family. Keeping them alive was the reason he existed until now, so he would do everything he could to wake them up. Gaia's data had been altered by the virus, and it was holding Hira's soul captive. If this continued, her soul would disappear, and she would never return to her own world. Once again, she apologized for taking Noi's mother away and vanished. Even though he knew he had to save his mother, first he needed to find a way to get out of there to destroy the core from the outside. He remembered Haki's game console. Noi contacted him and managed to escape. Of course, Virus also escaped with him. The battle resumed. When Virus was split in half, he didn't die. He just replicated himself. If they didn't take him down, they wouldn't be able to save Noi's mother. Outside, Modi's father contacted her and told her to log out quickly. She refused because she still had people she needed to help. Meanwhile, Noi was cutting him into as many pieces as he could, but it was useless. Everyone started holding him off so Noi could go save his mother, but they kept getting more and more. Vincent arrived to help. He said that Garrido was trying to stabilize the game. But if Chuyu Sekai was destroyed, all the players and NPCs would be erased. They had no choice but to trust Garrido. Meanwhile, Noi was being overrun by the virus. He was fighting solo. The Saber team arrived to help. Modi's had to destroy the core in his place. Outside, Mons was also helping Garrido stabilize the system. Inside, Noi managed to finish off the virus. With his last ounce of strength, the virus fired a blow at Modi's. Luckily, she had destroyed the core before being hit. Hira was saved. The viruses stopped. Kayasu also woke up. Light appeared again. And so, everyday life resumed, both in real life and in the game. The game was released smoothly. Everyone could have fun together. The anime ended here. Goodbye and thank you.